Today's guest just recently stepped out in entrepreneurship, starting a virtual assistant business for executives and CEOs. So today we talk about her vocational journey as well as her experience raising twin boys. Hello and welcome to the Everyday Calling podcast. My name is Guy Smith, and I am honored to have you here today at the podcast where we have conversations with incredible, wonderful, awesome, everyday people about what they love to do, how they discovered what they love to do, and why it matters to them, the world, and why it should matter to us today. Today I have a wonderful guest and friend by the name of Courtney Furman. Courtney, welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Good. I'm glad. So why don't we begin by you telling us a little bit about your journey into to get to where you're at today in being an entrepreneur in the virtual assistant business is an awesome thing, and I want to deep dive into that. But before we get there, why don't you kind of just tell us some of your story and what led you to that, how you discovered that?
Yeah. So I think the best place to start is I have a degree in nutrition from the University of North Carolina in Greensboro. And I thought I wanted to be in the health and fitness world and help people like learn how to eat properly and exercise and all of that. And it's still a huge passion of mine, but right after college, I did work as a nutritionist for an HIV/AIDS case management agency. And then I met my now husband. His name's Austin. We dated long distance for about 9 months. I was in Raleigh, North Carolina, and he was here in, Indiana, Pennsylvania. He was going to IUP, the college in Indiana. And so I am 2.5 years older than him. So I had already graduated college and he was still in college when we met. And I moved up here to Pittsburgh and was working for the Art Institute of Pittsburgh for a little bit, just recruiting people into the web design and photography programs there. And now I feel bad about that because they were about $90,000 degrees that I got people into.
Yeah. Way to go.
Yeah, I know.
Really contributed to
feel bad. Feel really bad about that. But my husband's parents, my in-laws, are really good friends with the Shireys, who I ended up working for about 8 years following. So my in-laws connected me with the Shireys, and they hired me to work at their insurance office for, I think it was about eight years.
Okay, so you're so you journey from Raleigh to Pittsburgh.
Yes.
And you start with recruiting. Mm-hmm. So but you're going from nutrition and helping people know what to eat, how to eat. Like that's that's day one.
Yes.
But then you end up in the Art Institute recruiting. So recruiting you're kind of the beginning of a transition towards more of the business world.
Yes.
And then insurance comes onto the play, which I think I don't know very many people that, graduate high school or let's even say little kids are like, I want to be an insurance man when I grow up. So,
yeah.
What was that like?
I never thought I would work at an insurance company, but I love customer service. Like, it's a huge pet peeve of mine when people do not do customer service well, because I believe it really is one of the easiest jobs. Like, you just need to smile and be kind. And so many businesses miss that. And so when I was talking with the Shireys and, sharing that that's what I love, they brought me on as their customer service representative. So I was doing a lot of cold calling and marketing, and also was an agent for them as well. And that's...
What kind of insurance?
What kind of insurance? We mostly insured commercial properties, but they were churches. So property and liability insurance for churches, and workers' compensation and auto policies for them. And now I know they have transitioned a little bit into the personal lines, but that was kind of as I was on my way out. So yeah, worked at the insurance office it was actually like 6 years. Then I had my daughter in 2018. I still worked through her birth, and 2019 had my twin boys. And so at that point, I kind of realized like, I really don't want to put like my tiny little babies in daycare. When my daughter was younger, my mother-in-law was able to watch her. But with my twin boys, she wasn't. So I was like, I really feel like I need to be home for this, just for that season. I knew like being a stay-at-home mom was not for me. I've always loved working and just having something for myself to do. So, but I just knew at that time that I needed to be home. And so that's when I left the insurance office. And I was gone for about 11 months, stayed home with my boys. I did get into teaching online at that point because I just can't sit and do nothing. And so I taught online for VIP Kid, taught English classes online for like 2.5 years. I started that when I was on maternity leave with my daughter. So I was doing that while I was working at the insurance office and continued to after I left. And also taught online for a platform called OutSchool. And I taught just basic nutrition classes. So I taught 3 to 5-year-olds online during the COVID pandemic about how to eat healthy. And it was so much fun. I had students all over the world, like Australia, Germany, like New Zealand. It was so cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. And that's what initially brought me like into the online space and the online world. And I had no idea that all these jobs existed online, and just followed a lot of people online, a lot of financial people. So my husband and I started our debt-free journey in January of 2015, followed Dave Ramsey's plan, read the book. I even instructed his Financial Peace University course twice at One Life Church.
Yeah.
And
way to go.
Yeah.
I want to fire that back up in January if you're free.
Awesome.
True story.
Oh, okay. Tri-County's doing it in January too. I'm not leading it, but
okay,
that's awesome. So yeah, we were on our debt-free journey. So I had been following a few like bloggers and financial people, and randomly signed up for one of their newsletters. And like the fourth one, I hadn't been reading her emails. I happened to click on the fourth one and saw she was hiring an admin assistant online to work from home. And I was like, oh, this is like really what I need. And so just applied for it, and she hired me. It happened to work out. So that's when I really dove into the online space and the online world, and just started learning like all the tools that all these entrepreneurs are using, like email service providers, social media schedulers, inbox management things, calendar management, all those tools. And through that team, I met my previous CEO. She actually quit because she had started her own small digital marketing agency. And she reached out in like November of 2021, and was like, hey, like my business is growing really fast. Would you be interested in joining at some point? I was like, yeah, sure. Like had no idea what the timeline was. Well, January hit, and she's like, all right, I think I need you now. And I was like, whoa, that was really fast. So she brought me on in February of 2021 as her COO, Chief Operating Officer. So I was really in charge of like putting systems into place and like making sure she had efficient processes for like onboarding and offboarding clients, things like that. Well, in September of this year, 2022, she actually had to let me go because there was just a miscommunication with one of the client's budgets, and so she couldn't pay me. She tells me to this day that was the worst day of her life in 2022. She was heartbroken to let me go because she knows I have kids and a family, and of course that just doesn't feel good to have to let somebody go. So at that point, my husband Austin and I were talking, and he was really encouraging me, like, you know what to do to start your own business. Like, why don't we just go that route? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I mean, throughout my whole career, I've always had kind of a side hustle. Like I joined different network marketing companies and I've always been doing something on the side, network marketing or the teaching online. And so at that point, if it did feel like God was like, now is your time to start your own business. Like, I've taken everything else away. Here's your time to dive into it. And I knew what to do. I knew how to start. And that's the hardest part, is just getting started. So I think it took us, I think I was let go on a Thursday, and we took that weekend to just like pray and think about it. And we were like, yeah, let's just do this. So got started. And ironically, this business coach that I follow, she that next week had a 4-day like workshop called How to Start Your Online Business, which was perfect. So I just went through that and just followed her steps. And yeah, I just quickly gained 3 clients from Facebook groups. And then one was also a referral from a friend. And I think I needed that quick win, those 3 clients to like almost validate my business. Like, yes, you have the skills, you can do this. And that's where I'm at today, is running the Furman firm as the founder and CEO. So yeah.
As an entrepreneur and virtual assistant.
Yes. Yeah. So the Furman firm.
For executives.
Yes. We're a virtual executive assistant business, and we take any administrative tasks off the plate of busy CEOs so that they can do what they love doing. So it's a lot of inbox management, calendar management, managing the back end. A lot of entrepreneurs have courses. So managing the back end of those courses, like uploading lessons or group coaching calls. But it can even be like sending out Christmas cards. I'm doing that for one of my clients right now too. So yeah, anything that they either don't want to do or don't have time to do, the Furman firm is there to help.
You're there to pick it up.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
That's awesome. Thanks for walking through that.
Sure.
So it's kind of neat. You walk through your story of really, you're ending up somewhere that you didn't expect to end up, but you've had your husband and multiple other people over the years have said, hey, you could probably do this yourself instead of, working with those wages, and listening to other people. But you've been bringing it along in that way. Like, you've learned the tools necessary to do this and got paid along the way to do it and ended up somewhere you never thought you would be.
Yeah,
but it feels right, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I do have the personality type that does not like to be told what to do. So I don't know if you've heard of the Enneagram, but I'm an 8 on the Enneagram personality test.
I'm just a little bit. I'm
familiar with. Know enough.
I just know enough to know nothing. So you feel free.
So I mean, I don't know all about it, but I do know the 8 personality is like known as the challenger. So we can be very direct and assertive and bold to the point where people think we're like mean and rude. And I don't like people telling me what to do. I have to kind of figure it out on my own and get to that point before I take the next step. So entrepreneurship is the perfect place for me to be, because then I lead the way myself, as the CEO. So
yeah. And it makes it difficult to work with someone else, but it's like, but you have this self-starter drive.
Yes.
And I love that. And you need that to be you got to have that to be a successful entrepreneur or business person. Cause
sure.
you get up in the morning and you have to make your to-do list. You have to decide what to prioritize. You have to get it done. And, and I actually, that's, I don't know what my Enneagram is. I would have to, is there a test I would have to take?
There is a test.
There's a test. I would have to take a
curious.
test. I don't know that I would be an 8. I don't know, but I do know I in my position as a, I started at the church as a solo pastor.
Yes.
And so I felt like a church entrepreneur in a lot of ways. I mean, I obviously had a wonderful board putting in the work and backing everything up, and we had a really good start. But when it comes down to like the daily operations of, pastoring and
what that looks like,
preparing messages, like everything across the board is like, I walk in at like at the beginning of the week and it's like, the entire week is up to me, aside from events that are coming in or people have needs that they're reaching out, so I'm forced to be a self-starter. And so a lot of times I feel like sometimes the best pastors are entrepreneurial. And so oftentimes I wonder like how well I would do as an associate pastor, where I have somebody always directing me in everything, because I like to just fly by the seat of my pants.
Yeah.
And do it my way. Delegation is important, right? And teamwork is important. But in school, I was not good at like, here, sit with these group of people and figure it out. I'm like, no, let's just let me do it, please.
Yeah, I'd rather just get it done myself.
Yeah, because then you get it done exactly how you have it in your head. Like, I mean, how many times you ask someone to do something and it's just not quite what's in your head? And so, but that's part of leadership, though, too, is learning that to give somebody enough direction to get the job done, and they're going to want to work for you because they're going to be empowered to do it the way they're hired to do that because they're better at it than you are, generally. And so you want to entrust them to be creative and think on their own and be empowered with that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just hiring robots.
Right, exactly.
That's important.
And it's important to like put those systems in place that you have your SOPs, standard operating procedures, that anyone can come into your business, follow the SOP, and they can get it done for you,
So they have room for kind of their own creativity, their own identity in it, but
sure, yeah.
But yet they're still hitting their marks. And I'm sure that also very much depends on the task, because sometimes,
for sure.
There are certain tasks in virtual assistants that I'm sure there is no need or room for creativity.
Yeah.
Right?
You just have to get it done.
Just get it done. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
true.
You kind of talked about the when you were learning customer service, about how you learned, and I love that what you said about how much you love customer service, because we need good customer service people, because I how many times you call customer service and I'm thinking, man, why you clearly hate your life. I don't really want to talk to you because you don't really want to talk to me. You're just getting it done and moving on. You won't help me. You won't answer questions. So getting to talk to someone like you on the phone that's wonderful. I mean, I'll call back half a dozen times till I find someone that is actually enjoying their day and willing to talk to me.
Yes.
And so that kindness factor, I think that is just so powerful in life in general. I think people underestimate in all of life how important it is to just be nice and kind, and how far that can get you. Because we're so used to well, you mentioned Dave Ramsey. It's one of the things he always says is how he's like, we all think that how does he say it? We all think that like the greedy backstabber is the only one that succeeds in life, but in the real world, it's not always true.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like the easiest thing to do is to be kind to people. And I just don't understand why people can't do it. I don't get it.
I heard John Acuff talk about that one time.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And he because he'll go on speaking arrangements, and he'll get picked up at the airport by, if he's speaking at a school or wherever, and he'll just be nice to you. And he said one time he was getting a ride to the airport, and the person, he said, they just said, everybody I always pick up, they're always so mean and they don't want to talk to me. And he's like, oh my, I just realized that all I have to do is be nice and they'll want me to come back.
Yeah.
It's a great thing.
Yeah.
And
when you're trying to build a business, like you need that,
Yeah.
Like one thing I did recently do is joined a local networking group. It's called 411 Networkers in Du Bois. And man, it's just been really cool to connect with all the other business owners in that group in Du Bois, local to our area. And it's even generated business for me. I've gotten a couple clients from that. But they're all just so nice and so supportive because they're trying to do the same thing, run their own business. And it's been really good. Would that be like the full range of what kind of businesses, or is it mostly online businesses or what? No, it's, they do keep it to like one category from each business so that there's no competition, but there's all sorts. Like I'm the virtual executive assistant business. There's an online bookkeeper. There's a like cleaning your air ducts and quality environmental cleaning business. trying to think what else. Photography and videography business. All different types of things. There's a gym owners in there, a realtor, construction business, like all different types. So it's really cool because then you get to know those people and, you're comfortable referring them out. So like we all just pass referrals constantly, and it's really helpful for all of us.
White collar and blue collar. So you're networking well, and that I'm sure that's good for everybody and good for the area. Mm-hmm. It's a nice thing to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are some of the hardest times that you've had to be nice and be kind on a customer service call? Like, what are some challenges you faced with that? Because anybody that deals with people knows that
they're not always
people
kind.
have bad days, and
do.
You may not be the reason for that bad day, but you may get in the way of their bad day.
Yeah, totally. A specific phone call that I remember while working at the insurance office.
You be careful that you're probably talking to Christians on that phone call.
I know that's the sad thing.
Uh-huh.
They get mad too. Christians do get mad.
Oh.
Did you know that?
I've experienced that in many ways.
Have you as a pastor? Yeah.
Even in myself.
Well, this pastor called, he was calling to file a claim, or no, I think the claim had already been filed, and he was just upset with like how long the process was taking, and I guess just how it was handled. And I literally remember, I just, always talk to them and lead with kindness, of course, and understand what type of, situation they're in if you can. And I remember just saying like, I'm so sorry that happened, let's figure out what we can do. And I remember by the end of the call, he was like, well, I was really mad when I first called you, and now I'm really happy. You made me feel better about this whole thing. So I think that's the goal, is like, just help them to, realize whatever the situation is. Yeah, that stinks, but you don't have to be like mad and grumpy about it. There's always positives in anything. Mm-hmm. And I do think there's like this positive toxicity as well. Like if you go too far that way, you're just being a little unrealistic, but you can still lead with kindness in all things and be tactful about it, I guess. So yeah, just leading with kindness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've talked about that lately. Not to go too far in this, but 1 Corinthians 13, love is patient, love is kind.
Yeah.
We always skip over that one. It just kind of gets lost in the details.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. I think that's great.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest challenges to starting from scratch as an entrepreneur in your own business? What's it been like?
So I did not know this, but there is a small business development center in Clearfield, and they help, like their goal is to help startup businesses and entrepreneurs with like getting your business legal and taking all of those correct steps. And they actually partner with Penn State Law. So you're working with lawyers to like make sure you're registering correctly and all of that. So I worked with them very closely, and they just had me like check off all the boxes. Austin and I decided we wanted to create an LLC so that we had a little more of the liability protection. So they walked us right through that as well. And we worked closely with a law student from Penn State, and he even wrote up like contracts for me to, have my clients sign, which protects me and them. I didn't do that. So I did learn my lesson to get clients to sign contracts, of course. But when you're first beginning, I think wherever you are, there's probably a small business development center in your state, and reach out to them and they can kind of walk you through it. That was super helpful.
Yeah.
So,
That sounds good.
Yeah, I don't remember how I found that, but it's a really good resource. And they have all kinds of like free education and webinars and training classes and things like that.
So now that you own your own business, you have this total control. Mm-hmm. You don't work for anybody, but you work for your clients.
Yes.
Which in some ways is probably more intimidating because you're you're in all control. Like you made this touch and you're making the work and the whole thing, but you're never going to get fired again. That's probably kind of a neat feeling, huh?
Yeah. I mean, contracts can end, so
Yeah.
that's like firing in the world of owning your own business, I guess.
Right. Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, it's the flexibility that comes with owning your own business that to me is worth it. I have 3 little kids at home and they get sick all the time, especially during the winter season. And to be able to just, go pick them up from school as soon as I get a call from their teacher or take them to a doctor's appointment anytime I need to, that is priceless to me, having that flexibility, especially with a young family. So,
yeah, I love the flexibility of entrepreneurship. I think that's an awesome thing to have. Definitely. So
it's huge.
So speaking of your kids,
yeah,
we had a conversation with Stacy was about talking about, she had a similar experience. She wanted that flexibility to be at home with her kids as much as she wanted to be.
Yes.
But that was that was episode 2. And
it's a good episode.
But your kids, you have 3 kids, and the boys are twins.
Yes.
So I have 4 kids. None of them are twins. And so we are at one point, we were 4 kids under 5. But
yeah,
that's hard. But that's not twins.
Yeah.
So what have twins been like?
Yeah. First of all, my daughter was 6 months old when we found out we were having the boys. So that was a big shock. Thankfully, everyone said, oh, you're going to have the boys early. Thankfully, we did not. So she is exactly a year and 2 weeks older than them. But I would say the first year was really tough. Like, I barely remember the first year of their life. I was so tired just from breastfeeding both of them. I felt like I lived on our couch, like feeding them all day. And all I did was eat, feed them, and sleep. That's all I remember. And thank goodness my mother-in-law lived with us at the time. And she was such a huge help. Like, she was with me every step of the way. She's an angel here on this earth. Because she was constantly holding one of them and I would have one of them and then we'd switch, and she cooked all my meals. Like, I don't know if I would have eaten so well if I didn't have her there because she's an amazing cook. So if I didn't have that help, I really don't know how I would have survived that first year. And that was also without working. Like, I was home. I was thankfully blessed and able to be home and just focus on the boys at that time and take care of them. But it was like, I call it my zombie days. I think for the first 8 months, I was just like a zombie with them. So it was challenging for sure.
Yeah, there's definitely a road of just survive when your kids are that little, the babies.
It was survival mode for sure.
Yeah. How old are they now though?
So my daughter is 4 and the boys are 3 now.
Okay.
And I love this stage. I mean, once they kind of hit 2, it was like, it just felt like more freedom. They're more independent. They can feed themselves. They can start to dress themselves. And this stage is just super fun. We're really looking forward to Christmas with them because all 3 of them really understand it more this year. And I think it's just going to be a joy watching them. So.
Yeah. Oh, I love that stage. It's like the year and a half to about 3. They're just super fun. Cause then the terrible 2s are kind of more like the terrible 3s. Our kids all kind of like when they turn 3, they just, all of a sudden you become the enemy.
That's when they hit. Yeah. My boys are 3 now and they're just like, all they do right now is wrestle each other constantly. And I'm like, we're going to end up in the ER one of these days. So we haven't yet, but we'll see.
Yeah. Very close.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, what's your favorite thing about being a twin mom? Like, what's the coolest thing about it?
Oh gosh, that's hard. I don't know. I mean, it's not It doesn't feel, I think other people make it feel like it's so much different than having like singleton babies, but they're still, you go through all the same phases.
Do you dress them all alike? And
so I have a love-hate relationship with that. Sometimes it's the cutest thing ever, and I love dressing them exactly the same. And other times I hate it because I want them to be independent and be their own person. And my boys are not identical. They're fraternal, so they look nothing alike. One has brown hair and brown eyes. The other has red hair and blue eyes. So, sometimes I'm like, now at 3, they want to pick their own clothes too. So we kind of guide it and set out a couple of outfits. Like, you choose what you want to wear. And then Barron's favorite color is blue, so he usually goes for blue things. Weston loves yellow, so he goes for yellow. So that's been fun to see. But
yeah, you probably have to be healthy about that. I mean, not being identical, I'm sure that's different. But are you familiar with the Winklevoss twins?
No, I'm not.
They're the brothers, the twin brothers that claim to have, right? They won the lawsuit against Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh,
that they created Facebook.
I didn't know about.
You don't know anything about that story?
No.
And now they have like Gemini Financial. They're big into crypto, but anyway. My point is, they're like 40 years old, and they still dress alike quite often. I see pictures of them going places.
Really?
I'm like, wow. Like I don't know. I think there's some.
That's hilarious.
There's some real confidence there of whether or not you're going to be your own person.
Yeah. No, I didn't know anything about that. I get very protective of them being individuals. Like, I'm very thankful they're not identical twins, because no matter what, twins are automatically always compared to each other. Like, he's taller, he's shorter, he has pretty hair or pretty eyes, and so I know when they were super little and people couldn't tell them apart, they'd be like, oh, his red hair is so beautiful, and I'm like, the brown hair's pretty too. So yeah, I want them to know that they are their own person and they can do whatever they want, in life, and they don't have to live up to whatever society says, about twins. So yeah, that's just like my mama bear claws kind of coming out a little bit.
Yeah, make your own identity.
Yes,
absolutely. Yeah, take your own Enneagram.
Yes,
as you say. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, I am excited to get to talk to somebody who you really seem like you love being a mom.
Yeah.
You seem like you really love being a wife. You love your husband.
Yeah, 2 things I didn't think I wanted.
2 things you didn't think you wanted.
Yes.
And now it very much defines who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always disappointed when I meet parents that don't like being a parent,
that's heartbreaking.
or relationships that aren't real strong. And so it's neat to hear kind of more of that about how much you are able to look at your life and say, this is good. This is a blessing. This is, this is more than I bargained for. And it's, it's not what I would have designed, but it's what I needed. And I love it. And in the same way, like, there's so many people that don't like what they do. And you've gone through this journey in and out of nutrition, and with the art school recruiting and insurance, taking those tests. I'm sure that was hard. And and then just kind of learning along the way to finding to where now you're here, kind of just like, I'm going to put my own mark, my own name, and I'm going to build this. And you're just very, very enjoyable and seem to very, very much love what you do, and you love your life, and you see the blessing. And so,
totally.
For that, you're a great friend, and I am always encouraged encouraged by the joy that you bring into everything, and the kindness that you're definitely putting forth in everything that you do.
Thank you.
So, Courtney Furman, thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
it's been good to talk to you.
Thank you.
There were days where we thought we wouldn't make it out.